Welcome to Matrescence Memoirs. I'm Sandra from Embrace Motherhood. Today we have Rebecca from Rebecca Mathews Artist, who's here to share her motherhood journey and what inspired her beautiful Tiny Dancer's latest release painting. Rebecca is a talented oil-based artist who paints botanicals using a layered technique to create rich colour and beautiful contrast. Hi Rebecca.
Hi.
Thanks for sharing your motherhood journey with me and your latest release Tiny Dancers and how your motherhood journey has inspired this beautiful painting.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
First things first, please tell us how Tiny Dancers was inspired.
So Tiny Dancers is the first painting of my Blooming series, and it depicts a journey of growth. So often we will start a journey like a little bud, and as we take on new experiences and knowledge, we will bloom, and the last flower represents the wisdom that we've gained from the journey.
It's beautiful, stunning.
Thank you.
How does this relate to your motherhood journey?
Yeah, so for me, Tiny Dancers is my growth through motherhood. I started the journey like a bud, quite vulnerable, and then with your support, I've taken on different lessons. I've learned different things, and which is the wisdom. So for me, those lessons have been trusting my intuition, being kind to myself, and a belief that my value comes from within.
I can really see your growth within the painting and within you as a person.
Thank you.
Can you touch on how you grew your intuition?
Yeah, sure. So I'd always wanted to be a mum, and I've always loved children. So when I first became a mum with Jaden, my boy who's now 5, I put a lot of pressure on myself to be perfect, which meant that I was always hunting out the perfect answer. So I would Google a lot and I would Google things like, should I wake him up or should I let him sleep? And as you know, there's not one answer for that. So I mean, you might get a scientist saying let him sleep because it's really good for his development, and on the other hand you might have a sleep consultant that would say wake him up because it's really good to get him into routine. But because I couldn't land on the perfect answer, I would just keep hunting, rereading the same things but from different sources, and it just created like a spiral of uncertainty. And in those early days when you're really vulnerable, and not getting much sleep, and you've gone through all these physical changes and stuff, it's really hard to come out of that. So with your support, I learned more about trusting my intuition. And so for me that meant basically I would, yes, do research, but once I had the answers, stop. And then even if I didn't have an answer straight away, I'd just let it sit for a while, because then I could make a decision that was best for my children and me, rather than trying to find that perfect answer.
Yeah, and do it your own way, basically.
Yeah.
Find your own way.
Yeah.
And earlier you mentioned how kindness has helped you. Can you please tell me more?
Yeah, so when I had my second child, Mila, she went through a stage around 9 weeks where she needed help getting to sleep, but she could only be awake an hour at a time. So I felt like I spent the whole day like rocking and patting and just trying to help her get to sleep, and it was so exhausting. And when you're in that kind of state and you're tired and you're vulnerable, like I noticed that I would say things like, I can't do this, this is too hard. But with your support and your course and stuff, you suggested that I do some positive affirmations. And so when I was in those moments, I would change my thinking to, I've got grit. We talked a lot about grit and grace and perseverance, and I'm strong. And it was little steps, like obviously it wasn't instant, but just trying to change those thoughts helped me create more of a positive mindset and just be kinder to myself.
And to get you through those tough times.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Kindness is such a huge part of the matrescence journey, because we've learnt in those deep times to be really mean to ourselves.
Yeah.
And to give yourself kindness and talk to yourself like your best friend is a real stepping stone in that growth journey. Another area of growth you mentioned was your inner value, and that it comes from within. Can you tell me more about that?
So you talked a lot about this, and it is interesting that when you become a mother, there is no performance reviews or promotions or anyone patting you on the back saying, you did such a good job. So for me, it was a change of perspective. Like, I had to value what I was doing because I wasn't going to get that externally. And being a mum, there is so much value in it. We learn a lot from our children, and we learn a lot about ourselves, and that is how we grow. And motherhood is really special. Yeah,
that's a big part of my push in this matrescence space, is to value yourself and the motherhood part of your life more, because as you said, up until this point in your life, everything you get is external validation. To develop your internal knowing, your internal confidence, your internal belief, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of digging deep, but the benefits in the long run is that you know that you're doing a good job. You have this confidence within you that whatever decision you make is the right decision for your family.
And you stop comparing yourself to others, right?
Yeah, it's very powerful. What did you feel when you heard matrescence for the first time?
Yeah, well, I had never heard of it before. But when you started talking about it and unpacking all the parts to it, because there's a lot to it, right? I was just really curious about it. And when I did your course and we chatted more, I was able to relate it to my experiences. So I found that really valuable.
What is one tool or step that you can suggest to other mums to take in their motherhood journey?
So I think there's 3 things that I've learned are all about a change of mindset. To do that, of course, is really, really hard to do it by yourself when you don't have that support. So I would suggest getting support around it. Having someone that keeps you accountable. Like when we talked about kindness and you gave me those affirmations, or I came up with those affirmations, you would check in with me a week later or whatever, and I was able to go, well, this is working or this isn't working. And just having that support really helped me through those times. And being able to chat to you meant that I could tell my story and reflect on it, and just gave me the opportunity to learn and move forward and grow.
Yeah, so I think the accountability is a big one, and also the fact that I could mirror to you what I was seeing or what I was hearing, and then you come up with the answers, right? Like everything that you've come up with, you've known yourself. You just needed a little bit of help along the way.
Exactly. And you created such a safe and positive environment that I felt that I could share with you.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind. Well, thank you for joining me, Rebecca.
You're
It's
welcome.
Wonderful to see Tiny Dancers in person. It's a beautiful, beautiful print.
Thank you.
Where can viewers find you or buy this beautiful artwork?
So Tiny Dancers can be found on my website, rebeccamatthewsartist.co.nz. The original is under Originals, and I've also got prints, which is under Open Editions.
Great, thank you. And if you'd like to find out more about Matrescence or myself and Embrace Motherhood, you can follow me with the Instagram or Facebook handle at Embrace Motherhood New Zealand. And I offer one-on-one coaching, mums groups, and a soon-to-be-released online course.